The Electoral Office of Jamaica is pleased to have individuals participating in the election process as election day workers. The role of election day workers is an integral part of achieving free and fair elections. This training video has been designed to reinforce concepts and procedures in the training manual for election day workers, as well as complement training sessions.
In this three-part video, we take a look at some of the key procedures for election day workers, comprising the opening of the poll, the taking of the poll, and the closing of the poll.
Polling officials should report to duty at least 1 hour before the opening of the poll. That is, arrive no later than 6 a.m. to prepare for the opening of the poll. Before the polls open, the presiding officer, with the assistance of the poll clerk, is required to do the following. Prepare and organize the layout of the polling station. Ensure you are supplied with adequate material. Post the flag, notices, instructions, and directions to electors and other items outside the polling station. Post the other Form 7 inside the voting booth. Attach the pencil provided for voting to the voting booth and keep the additional pencil on the presiding officer's table to be used for assisted voting. Ensure that all the relevant documents for the polling station are present. Invite candidates' appointed agents to the polling station and accept the appointment of candidates' agent. Swear or affirm agents of candidates, or in the absence of any agent of candidate, any elector who offers to observe on behalf of the candidate. Agents may absent themselves from the polling station with the permission of the presiding officer, but must return within 1 hour prior to the close of the poll. Examine election day supplies with agents. Count ballots and distribute signed certificate of ballot paper issued to the agents of candidates. If at 15 minutes prior to the opening of the poll there are no agents of candidates present, proceed to count ballot papers with the poll clerk. Notify the returning officer immediately where there are issues relating to the timely opening of the poll. Recheck all election supplies. Receive transfer certificates from indoor agents, if any. Examine the ballot box, lock it and place it on the presiding officer's table. Declare the polls open at 7 a.m. and accept electors to cast their vote. Arrange envelopes in the order in which they will be used at close of poll. During the course of the day, when there is a lull in the flow of electors, pre-complete all election forms.
The following persons are authorized to be in the polling station: the presiding officer, the poll clerk, indoor agents. If they are absent, one elector is permitted to represent each candidate on the request of the elector. Please note that no candidate and his agent should be in the polling station for more than 5 consecutive minutes. Observers are permitted to enter any polling location for the purpose of observing any procedure and the voting process being carried out. No more than 4 observers are allowed to remain in any polling location at any one time, unless authorized by the ECJ. A polling location means any premises established for the taking of the poll and in which one or more polling stations are situated.
So I'm going to declare the polling station open. Harry, Harry, polling station number 1 is officially open.
An elector who has his or her elector registration identification card, also called the voter ID card, and is not required to take an oath is referred to as an ordinary elector.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. May I have your name, please?
Jean Robinson,
And what's your occupation?
teacher,
What's your address, please?
32.5 Jubilee.
Okay. So she's number 66. We can start that second. May I see your fingers, please? Okay.
Using a specimen ballot as an example, instruct the elector as follows. I am issuing you a ballot with the names of 2 candidates, Tweety Bird, represented by the heart symbol, and Daffy Duck, represented by the star symbol. Using the pencil provided at the voting booth, mark an X next to the symbol for the candidate of your choice. After marking the X, fold the ballot so that my initials are shown and take it back to me folded. The right index finger of the elector is stained with electoral ink, and then the ballot is deposited into the ballot box.
Here's your ID card. Thank you for coming and have a great day.
Thank you.
If the elector refuses to immerse his or her index finger into the electoral ink, the presiding officer has the right to destroy the ballot.
Good morning,
Good morning. May I have your name, please?
Camille Robinson,
And what is your address
4 Franklin Avenue,
and your occupation?
cosmetologist.
Okay. Number 62. Okay. Ms. Robinson, may I have your ID card, please?
I don't have an idea.
Okay.
The elector's name is found on the official voters list, but he or she is unable to produce his or her voter ID. In order to establish the elector's identity, he or she will be asked specific questions based on information given upon registration and will be required to take an oath.
All right. Based on the fact that you do not have an ID card, I am required to administer an oath to you, but I have to ask you some questions from the black book.
That's okay.
The demographic information in the black book is checked. The presiding officer, by asking appropriate questions, establishes to his or her satisfaction the identity of the elector.
Ms. Robinson, what is your parish of birth?
Kingston,
What's your date of birth?
24th, 1st, 1950.
Okay. What's your father's first name?
Keith,
And your mother's parish of birth?
Portland.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to take your fingerprint and then ask you to sign. Can you sign here for me, please? All right. Do you affirm or do you swear?
Affirm.
Okay.
Administer the oath in the form of a question. For example, do you swear or do you solemnly affirm?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that you are Camille Robinson of 4 Franklin Avenue?
I do.
Ms. Robinson, we have 2 candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the heart, and Daffy Duck, represented by the star. You're going to mark 1X for the candidate of your choice using the pencil around the board that has been provided. After you finish marking the X with the pencil, you're going to fold the ballot like this and return it to me folded, just like this. All right, I'm going to open it for you. Go ahead, mark, and come back.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you.
If an elector takes the required oath, he or she must be furnished with a ballot. On the other hand, an elector who once refused to be sworn or to answer proper questions is not to be given a ballot either at that time or later in the day, even if upon reflection or encouragement he or she wishes to change his or her mind. The words refuse to swear or refuse to affirm or refuse to answer must be recorded as the situation demands.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. May I have your name, please?
Mark Brown,
And what is your address?
23 Starfish Drive,
And what is your occupation?
technician.
Do you have an ID card?
Yes, I do.
I am sorry, Mr. Brown. I am not seeing your name on this voter
No, miss.
slip.
You know him. Mr. Brown's son from Top Road.
What do you mean you're not seeing me in panel?
Maybe you're at the wrong polling station. You could try the next polling station down the road.
I don't want that's what tell me something name the panel is.
I am not seeing your name on this polling station.
So what am I for do? What am I for do?
You'd have to talk to the supervisor on the outside and she will direct you where to go and
Babes,
vote.
you don't know me.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you for coming.
I'm sure.
There may be instances when an elector comes to the polling station and his or her name is not on the voters list. The elector must be advised to speak with the election day supervisor or call the EOJ toll-free number 888-991-8683.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss. May I have your name, please?
Marcia Jones,
What is your address?
5 Mark Lane.
And your occupation is?
Teacher.
Do you have an ID card, Miss?
Sure. And my ID says Marville.
Okay. (201). On the voters list, her name is Marville Jones, but she said her name is Marcia Jones. Miss Jones, I'm required to ask you a few questions from the logbook. What's your middle name?
K.
What is your mother's maiden name?
Barrett.
And what is your father's first name?
Wayne.
What is your date of birth?
November 5th, 1984.
Okay, thank you. All right. I am going to scan your fingers. All right, thank you. All right. Miss Jones, due to the fact that there is a variance in your name, you're required to take an oath.
Okay.
Do you swear or do you affirm?
I affirm.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly affirm that you are qualified to vote at this election and you believe that you are the person intended to be referred to by the entry in the list of electors used at this polling station in the name of Marvia Jones, whose occupation is given as a teacher and whose address is given as 5 Mark Lane?
Yes.
Thank you.
The presiding officer ascertains the identity of the elector using the information in the black book and determines whether there is a mistake on the voters list. The presiding officer must administer oath number 9 to the elector. The poll clerk records the correct spelling of the elector's name and his or her pertinent information in the poll book. The elector's name, as appears on the official voters list, is recorded in the remarks column using the words "on list as."
Ms. Jones, we have 2 candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird represented by the Heart, Dr. Duck represented by the Star. You are required to make 1 X for the candidate of your choice using the pencil around the booth that has been provided. After you finish marking the X, you're going to fold the ballot like this, return it to me folded, just like this, showing my initials. All right, so I'm going to open it for you, so go ahead, mark, and come back. Thank you. Right in the finger, protected from the 15. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss. May I have your name, please?
Andrea Keats,
And what is your address?
33 Welcome Drive.
Okay. And what's your occupation?
Analyst.
Do you have an ID card, Miss?
Sure.
Thank you. 145.
Miss Presiding Officer, I object. This lady has been away between 8 to 12 years, and I'm surprised her name is still on the voters list, as opposed to Mr. Brown's son, who has not left here for a day, and his name cannot be found. Something is just not adding up.
Okay, noted.
Do you know me, sir?
It's my duty to know my constituency, ma'am.
Okay.
There may be an objection to an elector receiving a ballot paper or an objection to the elector's right to vote in a particular polling station. The grounds for the objection must be clearly stated by the agent of candidate. Objections made by agents of candidates must be recorded.
Ms. Keat, there is an objection from Tweety, Mr. Tweety's agent. So based on the fact that there's an objection about your qualification of being a citizen, I'm going to ask you to take an oath for me.
Okay then.
All right. So do you swear or do you affirm?
Swearing means the Bible,
Yes, miss.
and affirming means not the Bible, right?
Right.
I can swear the Bible. I'm telling the truth.
Okay. All right. So Miss Keith, I'm going to ask you to read to your right hand on the Bible. Miss Keith, do you swear that you are an ordinary citizen of Jamaica and you are qualified to vote in this election?
I do.
Okay. All right.
Once the elector's name is on the voters list and the presiding officer establishes to his or her satisfaction the identity of the elector, then the elector must be allowed to vote. The elector is required to take oath number 10.
Mr. Thompson, I am satisfied that she is qualified to vote in this polling station. However, I will note your objection in the poll book. Ms. Keith, we have two candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the Art, Daffy Duck, represented by the Star. You're going to mark an X for the candidate of your choice using the pencil that has been provided around the board. After you finish marking one X for the candidate of your choice, you're going to fold the ballot like this and return it to me folded just like this, showing my initials. Sorry. All right, sorry about that.
Thank you. Pencils around the book.
Yes, miss.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask you to give your right to me.
I did before my ballot go in the box.
Yes, miss.
Have my ID, please.
Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
You too.
Morning,
Good morning. May I have your name, please?
Camille Robinson,
What is your address?
for Franklin Avenue,
What's your occupation?
store manager.
Do you have an ID card, miss?
Sure.
Thank you. Number 62.
Vote already.
No, I'm not
Yes.
vote. The first time I come here, I'm not
No,
vote
see,
yet.
date mark vote.
No. This is the first I come in here now. I haven't voted from morning. Sit there, you can check my fingers.
A personated elector is one who, when applying for a ballot paper, is informed by the presiding officer that someone has already voted in his or her name. In such a case, the elector, before being issued a ballot paper, must be advised of the situation and be informed of the procedure to be followed in order for him or her to be issued a ballot paper. The elector will be required to answer questions put to him or her to satisfy the presiding officer as to his or her identity and will be required to take an oath.
All right, Mr. Smith, can you allow me to follow the procedure, please? All right, so Ms. Robinson, it has appeared that someone has already voted in that name.
So you tell me, I can't get
No,
for
it's
vote?
not you, miss. It's not you. I'm not saying it's you, but it has
Okay.
appeared that somebody has already voted in that
Okay.
name. So I'm going to check your fingers.
Okay.
Please. All right. I'm going to ask you some questions from the black book.
No problem. As long as we get for vote.
You are going to vote. You will be voting, miss. What is your middle name?
Roden,
What's your father's first name?
Barrington,
What is your mother's maiden name?
Williams,
And your date of birth is?
the 5th of May, 76.
Mr. Smith, I am duly satisfied that Ms. Robinson has answered all the questions. I've checked her finger. There is no electoral ink on her finger, hence I'm going to proceed and allow her to vote.
Okay.
All right. Next one, please. Can you stand there for me, please?
Sure.
All right, so Miss Rodden, do you swear or do you affirm?
I affirm.
Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly affirm that you're Camille Robinson of 4 Franklin Avenue?
I do.
Thank you.
The poll clerk records the oath form number 11 in the column Form Numbers of Oaths if any elector is required to swear, on the left side of the poll book. In the remarks column of the poll book, the poll clerk inserts the word second ballot issued, see consecutive number, stating the consecutive number given to the personator in the poll book when it was entered at the instance. The poll clerk should record the elector's name, consecutive number of elector on voters list, and the words sworn or affirmed on the right-hand side of the poll book under the column Particulars of persons applying for ballot papers after another person has voted as such person.
Ms. Robinson, we have 2 candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the Arch, Daffy Duck, represented by the Star. You are required to mark 1 X using the pencil that has been provided around the booth. After you finish marking, you're going to fold the ballot like this. Return it to me folded, just like this. Only show my initial. Please go mark and come back.
Okay.
Please. All right, thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Okay.
Under the Representation of the People Act, electors who are blind or otherwise unable to mark the ballot without assistance because of a disability have the right to participate in the voting process with the assistance of a friend or with the assistance of the presiding officer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm blind and need my friend's assistance.
Okay. May I have your name, please?
Aliyah Bailey,
What is your address?
10 Judith Avenue.
What is your
Kingston.
occupation?
Operator.
Do you have an ID card?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you. Number 10. Okay. All right, Miss Bailey. I'm going to ask your friend to just step out so I can ask you a question. All right, so you can just step out for me, please.
No problem.
All right. So, Miss Bailey, you have 2 choices. Your friend can mark the ballot for you, or you can ask yours truly, the presiding officer, in the presence of the poll clerk, and the agents. Which one would you
I
prefer?
prefer my friend.
Okay.
The presiding officer must outline the two options available to the elector. That is, the ballot may be marked on behalf of the elector by a friend or by the presiding officer. The options should not be given in the presence of the friend. If by a friend of the elector, the ballot will be marked at the voting booth by the friend on the instruction of the elector. If by the presiding officer, the ballot will be marked at the presiding officer's desk in full view of the poll clerk and sworn agents.
Sir, you can come back. All right. Based on the fact that you're unable to mark a ballot for yourself, I am going to ask you to take a vote as well as your friend. All right. So do you swear or do you affirm?
I affirm.
Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you, Alia Bailey of 10 Judith Avenue, solemnly affirm that you are incapable of voting without assistance by reason of blindness?
I do.
Okay. Bring your hand, please. Mr. Wong, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you, Mr. Wong, affirm that you will keep the secret of the name of the candidate for whom you have marked the ballot paper of the blind elector on whose behalf you act, and that you have not already acted as a friend of a blind elector at this election?
I do.
Okay. Hold your hand.
The presiding officer must administer Oath of the Blind Elector, Oath number 13, to the blind elector, and the Oath of Friend of Blind Elector, Oath number 14, must be administered to the friend of the blind elector. No person is allowed to act as the friend of more than one elector in an election. The poll clerk should record the oath number 13 and the word sworn or affirmed in respective columns of the poll book. Oath number 14 is not to be recorded in the poll book. The presiding officer gives the friend of the blind elector the necessary instructions on how to properly mark, fold, and return the ballot.
Let me see your fingers, please. Look at your fingers. So you'll be marking the ballot on her behalf.
Okay.
So we have two candidates contesting in this election. Tweety Bird, represented by the heart. Daffy Duck, represented by the star.
Okay.
You are going to mark an X on her behalf.
Right.
With the pencil that has been provided around the booth. After you finish marking the X, you're going to fold the ballot like this and return it to me folded, just like this. Give me a second, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to open it for you. So go ahead and mark on her behalf and come back. So the both are on there. Please remember to use the pencil.
Just follow me.
The ballot is marked by the friend of the blind elector on the instruction of the blind elector, and they return the ballot to the presiding officer.
Getting back to the table, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to leave the right hand, please.
Congratulations.
Only the finger of the blind elector is immersed in the electoral ink.
Okay, the ballot is going in the box.
Okay, here it
Haley, here is your ID card. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
is. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Let's go.
The poll clerk should record blindness, ballot marked by friend in the remarks column of the poll book.
Hello, morning.
Good morning. May I have your name, please?
Andre Watson,
Your address?
14 Fleet Avenue.
Okay. What is your occupation?
I used to be a bus driver.
Do you have an ID card, sir?
Yes, this is in front of my jacket here. And have the assistant please.
Where?
Right in the pocket.
You? So, Mr. Watson, you have, I realize you don't have any hands, right? So you have two options. Would you like to get a friend to help you mark the ballots? Or would you like your student, the presiding officer, to mark it for you in the presence of the poll clerk and the agents?
I'm okay with you marking it for me.
Okay, all right.
Although the elector has attended the polling station alone, the presiding officer must still advise him or her of the available options for assistance.
You are required to take an oath, or you swear, or you affirm. Which one would you prefer?
Aye, sir.
All right, so you have no arms, but I'm going to rest the Bible in here. All right.
The presiding officer administers Oath of Incapacitated Elector, Oath number 12, to the elector with a physical disability other than blindness.
So do you swear that you're incapable of voting without assistance by reason of physical incapability?
Aye, sir.
Okay. Come a little closer. So we have two candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the Art, and Daffy Duck, represented by the Star. Which one would you like me to mark for?
The Art.
All right.
The presiding officer then marks the ballot as directed by the elector in the presence of the poll clerk and of the sworn agents of the candidates.
All right, thank you for coming.
All right,
and
thank
have
you.
a nice day.
All right, same to you.
If an election observer is present inside the polling station, he or she should not be present at the table or in earshot of the blind or incapacitated elector giving information on the candidate for whom he or she wishes the presiding officer to mark the ballot.
Good morning.
Good morning. May I have your name, please?
Marie Brooks,
What is your address?
24 Water Lane.
And your occupation is?
I'm a businesswoman.
Okay. Do you have an ID card, miss?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Number 17. This box here. Thank you. Ms. Brooks, we have two candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the Art, Daffy Duck, represented by the Star. You are required to mark one X with a pencil around the booth. After you finish marking the X, you're going to fold the ballot like this and return it to me folded, just like this, showing my initial. All right, so go ahead, mark, and come back. Remember to fold the ballot. Pencils around the blue. Okay. Miss Brooks, can you dip finger in the ink for me, please?
I don't want to dip my finger in that ink.
Miss Brooks, can you please dip your right index finger in the ink?
What if I had no hands?
All right, that's a different case. But you have hands, so you are required by law to dip your finger in the ink.
I don't
That's
want
the
them to know
only
that
way
I
the
come
ballot-
and vote. So I'm not dipping my finger in that ink.
Okay, that's the only way the ballot can be valid and goes in the bun, the ballot box.
Well, give me my ID, make me go on.
All right, so if you refuse to dip and you leave the polling station, you cannot re-enter again to vote. That's it for you for the day.
Well, me value my life more than this. So give me my ID card, make me go on.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Have a good day. So we draw a line showing you. Draw a line showing you on the poll book and you refuse to dip.
If the elector, having marked the ballot paper and returned it to the presiding officer, refuses to immerse his or her finger in the electoral ink, the presiding officer should deem the ballot spoiled and carry out the following steps. Deface the ballot paper by removing the counterfoil and destroying it, drawing a line through his or her initials, writing the words "refused to dip" across the ballot, using the pen to punch a hole through the ballot paper. Place the ballot paper in the envelope labeled Form E8 for spoiled ballots. Draw a line through the elector's name on the presiding officer's official voters list and write "refused to dip." Instruct the poll clerk to record "refused to dip" in the remarks column of the poll book. Draw a line through the elector's name on the official voters list used by the poll clerk and record "refused to dip" beside the elector's name.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. May I have your name, please?
Garth Redwood,
And what is your address?
Bar Elgin Street.
What's your occupation?
Unemployed, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have an ID card?
Just a minute, just a minute. Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thank you. $184. All right, can you see, please? All right, Mr. Redwood, we have two candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird, represented by the Art, Daffy Duck, represented by the Star. You are required to mark one X using the pencil that has been provided around the booth. After you finish marking the X, anyway here or there, you are going to fold the ballot like this and return it to me folded, just like this, showing my initial. All right, go ahead, mark, and come back.
Okay, ma'am.
Remember to use the pencil.
Miss, I made a mistake on this ballot. I hope you can get a new one.
Sure. Okay, just fold it and return it to me, please.
Here you go.
Thank you. Mr. Redwood, I'm going to be issuing you with another ballot. Okay, so Mr. Redwood, I'm going to ask you to be very, very careful this time when you go to mark your X. So we have two candidates. Going to give you the instruction again. We have two candidates contesting in today's election. Tweety Bird for the heart, Daffy Duck for the star. You're going to mark an X for the candidate of your choice using the pencil around the board that has been provided. After you finish marking your X, you are going to fold the ballot like this. Return it to me folded, just like this, showing my initial. Go ahead, mark, and come back.
Thank you.
Remember to use the pencil.
Here you go, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Can you dip your right index finger? Please. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Okay.
If an elector declares that he or she has made a mistake on the ballot, the elector should return it to the presiding officer folded. The presiding officer should not inspect the ballot nor attempt to ascertain what mistake was made. Before issuing another ballot, the presiding officer should deface the returned ballot by removing the counterfoil and destroying it, drawing a line through his or her initials, writing the word spoiled across the ballot paper, using the pen to punch a hole through the ballot paper, and then place the ballot paper in the envelope labeled Form E8 for spoiled ballots. The poll clerk should record the serial number of the ballot paper returned. Place a dash in the first column of the poll book, in the line immediately below the elector's details, and, in the same line, record the serial number of the second ballot issued, and when the ballot is returned, record the serial number in the same line.
The poll closes at 5 p.m. All eligible electors within the precinct of the polling location who are desirous of voting must be allowed to cast their vote. At 5 p.m., the presiding officer declares the poll closed.
It's now 5 o'clock. I'm going to declare the poll closed. It's now 5 o'clock. I declare polling station number 1 closed.
The presiding officer should note the last person in the line and instruct the polling station security assistant not to allow any other person to join. Communicate with the EDW cluster supervisor to ascertain if there are any electors within the precinct of the polling location and allow persons in line and in the precinct of the polling location to vote. Once all persons have voted, the presiding officer must follow through with all the following procedures.
The presiding officer seals the slot on top of the ballot box. The presiding officer then examines the poll book and writes a statement below the last entry, indicating the number of persons who voted at the polling station, places his or her signature at the end of the statement, and draws a diagonal line after the statement. Admit at least 2 witnesses if official agents are absent. Check and package all
Alright,
spoiled
so
ballots.
2 spoiled ballots.
Record the number on the envelope labeled Form E8. If there are no spoiled ballots, insert the word none. All sealed envelopes must be signed by the indoor agents.
Put it in the gray envelope.
Count and package unused ballots and record the number on the envelope labeled Form E5.
6 unused.
Reconcile the number of ballots spoiled, unused, and the number of persons who voted against the number of ballots supplied by the returning officer. Clear the table and prepare for the preliminary count. Distribute the tally sheets to poll clerk and agents.
So I'm opening the box.
Open the ballot box and remove ballot papers one at a time. Unfold each ballot paper and count audibly, showing the ballots to the poll clerk and agents.
Tweety Bird. Alright, so nothing was marked for this one, so I'm going to reject it. Agree? Tweety Bird.
Place the ballots cast for each candidate in separate piles.
Daffy Duck. So that's the final one.
The law allows for ballot papers to be rejected for the following reasons. Ballot papers were not supplied by the presiding officer. Ballot papers were not marked for any candidate. Ballot papers were marked for more than one candidate. Ballot papers had marking or writing by which the elector could be identified. Ballot papers were marked with an instrument other than the pencil provided. The ballot should not be rejected because earlier the presiding officer failed to remove the counterfoil or to place his or her initials in the designated spot.
Place the unfolded ballot papers cast for each candidate in the respective color-coded envelope labeled Form E14. Write the number of ballots cast for each candidate on the respective envelope. Place the unfolded rejected ballot papers in the envelope labeled Form E7 and write on the envelope the number of ballots enclosed. Complete the statement of the poll after counting the ballots at the back of the poll book. Then complete the statement of the poll after counting the ballots Form 19, that is the carbonized form. Place the original in the envelope labeled Form E6 and give each agent their color-coded copy. Complete the preliminary statement of the poll affixed to the ballot box. Complete the certificate of the preliminary count of the poll in quadruplicates. Place the original in the envelope labeled Form E9 and issue color-coded copies to the agents. Complete the polling station account and place it in the Form E9 envelope. Package letters of appointment of candidates' agents, official voters list, and transfer certificates in envelope labeled Form E10, except for the presiding officer's official voters list. Package all remaining papers, unused envelopes and forms, pencils, pen, ink, notices, ink pad, tissue, etc. in the envelope labeled Form E12 addressed to the Director of Elections. Place the ballot box key into the envelope labeled Form E2 and place it into the envelope labeled Form E9. Place the envelope labeled Form E6 into the ballot box. Place the envelopes labeled Form E5, E7, E8, E10, E14, and E15 along with the poll book into the large plastic envelope labeled Form E1. Then place the sealed Form E1 envelope into the ballot box. Remember, all envelopes must be signed by the presiding officer, poll clerk, and agents. Place the black book into the ballot box.
Only 3 items must be placed into the ballot box. The envelope labeled Form E6, the envelope labeled Form E1, and the black book. Lock the ballot box with the padlock and seal the lid with the ballot box seal provided.
All right, can you sign the seal for me, please? Come on, come sign. Just put on yours and sign. Hold on, Patrick.
Allow agents to also place their seals on the ballot box.
Come now, sign.
Tape the envelope labeled Form E9 on top of the ballot box. Deliver the ballot box, presiding officer's voters list, and other documents to the EDW cluster supervisor.
The quality and integrity of our electoral process depends on you. Continue to do your part to preserve Jamaica's democracy.